I'll talk from my own experience as an African American who embraced Islam in the early 70s, which means that I was raised as a Christian in the southern United States. So I experienced a huge chunk of my life living in the segregated South, very segregated and unequal South. So I knew injustice up close and personal. And you know, Allah gives each of us a personality. And mine was always to kind of resist, you know, what I thought was wrong and needed to be resisted, which led me to be kind of problematic and a real concern for my family living in that environment, because in many instances your life could be at stake, quite literally. So at a very early age, I was told, really, and encouraged that as soon as you finish high school, you're out of here. You're going up north. So that's what happened to me. But I knew Dr. Martin Luther King and the movement there, Rosa Parks and all of that. But my spirit resonated more with the message that Malcolm X was espousing at the time. And I only realized that after I came to New York in the early 60s and encountered this man called Malcolm X. Totally mesmerized. You know, life just changed from there on. I'd never heard anybody talk to us about the value that we have as a people, our history before we were enslaved in this part of the world, and the contributions that Africans had made to world civilization. This was just stuff, heady stuff. And that one had a right to protect and defend oneself and one's family. It's like amazing stuff. So in the 60s, in the early 60s, I planted myself in Greenwich Village, right in the heart of where things were happening, good and bad. But the good part is that young people were taking responsibility for themselves. They were daring to defy their parents, which equaled, for the most part, the status quo, and to say, we want to do something different. And they did. They dropped out, they sat in, they joined opposition to try and make a better world, you know. And so that was my environment. And that's where I became politically educated. It was the beginning of my political education. And I would listen to Malcolm X talk. I was never inspired to join the nation as a religious movement, but I always followed him, and I wanted to know what he was saying. And that political education, that social critique about American injustice towards its Africans was just something that moved me. And it was the beginning of my journey, actually, to Islam. I embraced Islam after he was assassinated, became friends with his wife after the assassination. We both belonged to the same mosque in New York. So that developed a lifelong relationship until her death. But the point of this story is to say that learning from Malcolm how to really speak truth to justice, to speak truth in the face of a tyrant, you know, quite bold and quite eloquently, was a lesson, I think, that resonated not only for young Africans, but across the globe for people who were struggling for liberation. So that is the foundation of what, you know, brought me to the place where I am now. I'm older, so I've learned to try and moderate my speech and my stance a bit. But I choose to be rather strident when it comes to social justice. And at this stage in my life, and I see that our government, the U.S. government in particular, the positions that it takes often on the wrong side of justice, I feel a responsibility to speak about that, and so I do.